addendum for you, Howard, and for anybody else trying to do these. This is a really hard thing to teach, so while I'm teaching people, I actually come around and grab their hips and heave them up under, but this is going to be the first thing that you do, I promise. So you're supposed to shoot straight up, like you're holding the middle of a pull-up and keeping your hips down. This is what everybody does. I'm pretty sure I probably did it too. You're going to do this. This is really easy. We're not trying to do that, and we're not trying to do rows. We're going to stay in external rotation, so stick them up position. Get as much of your hand, or I call it your paw. Like if you were a cat, you would probably try to hang from there. That's called a false grip in gymnastics. Try to get as much of your paw over there. Phone 2, okay? So you're going to fight to stay in that. And what I'm going to do is just visualize putting an anchor on my tailbone, and I'm going to go right to the crappiest part of the pull-up, which is the middle, where you're like going to pull up, and I'm going to force myself to stay in my shoulders and stay there. So you see a very different angle. And Jay, can you see the back angle from the camera?
Yes.
There, okay. So compare and contrast this one. You see that? Hopefully there's no angle. So I can hinge from here, and then I drop right back down there. Do you see that? Versus this. You see the difference?
Yes.
This is really easy. This is a bicep curl. Oh, that's miserable because I'm in my back. Thanks. Set up our ring rows. Set up under the ring, so go ahead and make your E first. This proppy thing gives you something to keep you from sliding forward. So you'll take an inhale, exhale, heave, pull yourself up, drop back into the plank, and then just swing.
And march all the way up to the main stage, 29th and Welton, behind the fired up brass band. So bring your parasol, bring your walking sticks, and let's strut your stuff up Welton Avenue behind the fired up brass band.
It should be quite an event, and I think we're all hoping this will be an annual tradition to start off the festival.
So that's how I think we're going to teach the ring rows from now on. What do you think, guys?
That are going to be
Okay, so hi Howard, how you guys doing? I hope everybody's backs and shoulders and stuff are healed up. So I'm gonna show another example of the ring hinge rows. There's two ways to get into it. I recommend, I've seen the big strong rings guys do it both ways. So I'm gonna recommend that you do it whatever way you feel the most shoulder stuff. But the reason we're doing it, it's the middle of a pull-up. So we're trying to get into a position where your back is straight, and you'd be kind of where, so in a pull-up, you're gonna probably be in what's called scaption, which is your strongest angle of the shoulder is about 15 degrees in front of the body. But in this exercise, you're gonna push it, and you're gonna force the rotator cuff to take your shoulder back, probably to parallel, or if you can stand it, just slightly behind your ears. So if you can lie on the floor and make a goalpost without arching or doing anything, then you have the length and the anterior pec muscles to bring your shoulders back. So if you go into this and you have trouble getting to the full E, which is a goalpost kind of stick 'em up, you see how I'm coming right off the line of the shoulder joint, instead of this other plane, which is called scaption. We're actually stronger in this, it's called the scapular plane. So you'd draw a line 15 degrees off of your shoulder. And that makes sense if you think about the rib cage as a bubble, right? So your rib cage is a cylinder. So your shoulders work along that cylinder angle, and everyone's scapular angle is a little bit different, but in general, it's a few degrees out in front. So when you're doing pull-ups, you're actually generally working on that scapular angle, and you'll see people vary their pull-ups, and that's because there are about 20 different shapes of what's called the acromion and people's range of motion in the shoulder. So the cue that I use with people is to just work where you feel the strongest. And when I say that, I'll see people come into their scaption, so that would be a pull-up. So one more time to distinguish the two things though, what we're gonna try to do in this ring row is force another 15 degrees of what's called external rotation of the shoulder joint. So another 15 degrees of coming from this angle to this angle. So you'll see in that reverse view where you see that pop, it's around the shoulders and the back of the scapula. That's because you're forcing the rotator cuff muscles, so all those little guys in there, teres minor, all the rotator cuff muscles to pull the shoulder blade back. And that's all coming from the top of the upper back, so that's where you want to feel it. You won't feel so much lats in here if you're already strong in your lats. Your lats are sort of my gimme on this, although this is a great lat exercise. The purpose of this is to go after that rotator cuff in conjunction with the lats in a functional movement, which is pulling yourself up. So again, scaption, you don't see a whole lot of pop. And then going here to the full E, you see a big ton of pop. And then if you feel stuck and you can't get into it, the coolest home exercise in the world is you get to lay on the floor on a flat back with your hands behind your head. And you can do that for 15 or 20 minutes a night. And what that'll do is take your shoulder seat from the scaption, and then gravity will slowly get you into a few more degrees of external rotation, and it facilitates the rotator cuff to easily wrap the shoulders back and open. And then, for big, strong guys, getting stiff and tight here isn't just pec muscle. Quite often, it's also the fascial tissue. It's also connective tissue. And if you do need to stretch that out, stay with it, because your muscles will stretch in about a month or like 6 weeks. But the connective tissue, like all of the fascia and the interconnections and whatnot, that's, you also have things in your shoulder capsule itself that like locks around the bone. That stuff can actually take a year to stretch out. So this whole ring hinge row is a very worthy investment in terms of opening up your strength, and also you can see the postural impacts of becoming too tight in your anterior chest, and then it just cascades in their lumbar problems, blah, blah, blah. So you want to maintain this openness in front of the chest, because you're going to have to, bam, get into that from here. So that's the precursor. So checking whether you can go to there on the floor, because if not, you're going to really have some restrictions and you're going to feel weak when you try to do the pull, but it's not weakness, it's just tightness. You're just actually restricted. There may be plenty of available power in the lats or the posterior of the upper back, but you're just restricted, so it feels like, well, you can't do it as weakness, and that's not the case. Open up the front, and you should be good to go. So I'm going to do kind of two things to demonstrate it. I think this angle will work. Let me cock it over a little bit more. Okay, so this one people really get confused. And so I would recommend you try it with your phone the first time. So the goal is to get ourselves into the middle of a pull-up, which would be a flat back, and your arms are in an E. So my arms are in an E here. So that's where I'm going to end up. Okay, so it's basically that crappy part of a pull-up, because once you get to here, you can just use upper extremity strength. And the first part is a scap shrug, but when it's right here where you have to heave. And so this exercise is a two-fer. It'll add more pull-ups and encourage a really solid integrated rotator cuff that's going to get you so much more than just kind of, oh, I'm just going to pull the band kind of crap. So, but the setup, people get confused, so let me walk you through what tends to happen. So the first time you do it, I would recommend putting your heels on the floor and just practicing coming up into the E and swinging your back so that it's flat. See, I'm actually using the camera to see that. So you just want to be able to come. TRX teaches a pull-up kind of like this, but they make you do it with straight legs, and it's kind of weird. So I like the rings a lot better. So you're just going to practice pulling and holding yourself up at an E. And then what the guys do is you swing out. So this should feel really good. You go ahead and pull through your pinkies, and it actually rounds your upper back. Just kind of staying sort of this stretch alone is worth doing the whole darn thing. But then the trick that's really weird is you're going to take the weight off your toes, which way your heels, and swing and hold here with a flat back. Hopefully that angle looks flat. So that, once you get that feeling, you'll know when you're in there, because you'll be like, oh, I gotta hold this. That's exactly the feeling that you want. And then I'm gonna move this out because I'm gonna do the full lever version. So once you get that feeling of sticking that flat back E, then for men in particular, I like to take it to the full plank version. So I'm in the middle of my workout. I don't know how many of these I have left. So I already did my pull-ups before I did this. So if I look kind of weak and puny, have mercy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and find the end target range of where I wanna be, and then move my legs out, and then stick the plank from here. And then there's an angle where I'm just gonna drop my butt and E at the same time. Inhale here, and then exhale, drop your butt. Now what I see in people that don't have the strength to do it is, you know, there's all kinds of interesting negotiation going on over here, and so I'll have them, you know, back up. I mean, if you were a ring gymnast, what you would do is hold this pike. I don't even know if I can do it, but you'd hold that pike and just, you know, you lift your legs up with you when you did that. So, but the progression, so just finding it from this form. Okay, I got my E, and I'm gonna swing my butt down. It'll feel just like the middle of a pull-up. Okay, so I got that form. And then make sure your feet don't slide, or you have some shoes or something. Because when you go the other one, if you stretch your legs out and your feet aren't supported, you'll go shooting out the other way, and the weight's on the heel of the foot. So you go ahead and get into it. Now I like to walk my feet out. Now there's my angle. Inhale here, and then you're ready. And you've got to exhale big when you go to eat to get the air out of the lungs so the lats and the rotator cuff can contract. So if you stay full of air, like, oh, and you're holding your breath, you actually can't contract and pull the lats down and nail this movement. So I've tried a whole bunch of stuff, but that progression really is the best one. And if you're hanging there like this, you use the weight of your own body to facilitate just that extra little bit of rotation at the shoulder joint. When you first start it, it's gonna feel really, really weird, and that's okay. It'll feel like weird hard. And then if you keep doing them, I would recommend, since you're already very, very active, I would just stay with like 3 sets of 6. And then on days where you're working out or you want to go big, I would go to 5 sets of 9 or 10. And make sure you vary this, because it's as extreme as a pull-up, and it's totally focused on the rotator cuff. But I tell you, it is a go-to exercise, especially for people who want to work the rings, or that are having trouble with pull-ups, or aren't, you know, just kind of not satisfied with it. This thing naturally gets all of the, what they call the scapulohumeral rhythm, integrated and coordinated, and it replaces a whole bunch of really stupid, tedious, boring rotator cuff work, which is like you pull the band. I mean, really? You want? I'm like so bored doing that, and I kind of check out and don't really do it. This one's fun because it's like really hard and you get to swing around on the ring. So peace, love, and health to you, bro. Bye.